Get ready to shake things up, rethink your values, and wrap up chapters started in 2018 as the planet of revolution and change, Uranus, returns to Taurus for the final 6 months. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia, and I am a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, predictive, astrocartography, and electional readings. I teach astrology and I create a variety of products to make my and your life easier and better. Before we dive in, if you enjoy my content, please support me by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell. Watch more of my videos to encourage YouTube algorithm to be friendlier, to help me grow. Additionally, you can also say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, showing your appreciation that way. Thank you so much. And if you're seeking personal advice for one-on-one guidance, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. There are natal chart readings, great to begin with, predictive readings such as year ahead or solar return, best done around your birthday. I do relationship guidance. I can help you elect the best time for your important event, to figure out where to move to, and a lot of other things. Additionally, my predictive astrology course begins in March 2026. It will teach you how to forecast with the use of astrology. In 3 months, we will dive into the predictive astrological techniques and discover the cycles, patterns, and future opportunities that are coming your way. So definitely check all of that out. Additionally, prepare for the year to come with my 2026 planner. It is full of astrological wisdom, including general transits, breakdowns of the months coming up, lunations, spaces to set your intentions, information about astrology that can help you learn, as well as best dates for love, lucky dates, and more challenging dates that you should watch out for. And since we're talking about Uranus and Taurus, and Uranus doesn't like Taurus very much because Taurus is all about stability, rather Taurus doesn't like Uranus, we may experience a lot of sort of final shakeups when it comes to our foundations, our money, our relationships, our career and home base. I do recommend my Exalted Moon candle. This one captures the moon in Taurus, Exalted, the most stable moon. It is great for creating stability, helping you manifest your desires, and bringing abundance into your life. Especially recommend this for the next 6 months while Uranus is in Taurus. For anyone born with their moon in Scorpio or Capricorn, signs of detriment and fall. And if your natal moon is in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses, if it conjoins, squares, opposes Saturn or Pluto. Uranus as well. So thank you so much for listening to all of my announcements. I am a practicing astrologer and this is what I do full time. So it helps for me to share what I'm working on and what I'm excited on. So thank you for being patient as I get through these. So Uranus has first entered Taurus in May 2018. So I'll ask you to look back at 7 years ago, May 2018, and as you listen to horoscopes, reflect on what has changed in your life in that regard, in that sector. Taurus is connected to foundations. It is connected to stability. It is connected to work, food, shelter, money, resources, right? Anything that makes you feel secure and stable. And when Uranus is in Taurus, it often either forces you to initiate change to create more stability, or it brings change your way. It disrupts your resources, your career, your stability, your relationships, so that you can experience more contentment in the long run, right? Like while it's going on, it can be really unfortunate or frustrating, rather frustrating is a better word, I think, but in the long run it can be very stabilizing. For example, if you are a Scorpio rising and Uranus has been in your 7th house, maybe your relationships have been really full of ups and downs and lacked stability. And so Uranus is doing that to you so that you can become really clear about what you want and maybe figure out how to say no to people that do not fit you and commit to those people that can encourage and support your authentic self-expression. So there may be, with this final transit, there may be some final lessons around creating stability in your life. There could be lessons around food in terms of food industry. So we may see some things on a collective level. Since Taurus also rules money, there may be some destabilization to the financial markets during the next 6 months. So Uranus returns to Taurus on November 7th, and it's going to leave for good on April 25th. Uranus takes 84 years to make a full circle. So we're not going to see Uranus and Taurus for a really long time, potentially never, unless we all start to live past 100 and further. But yeah, there may be some opportunities to like revolutionize money, how you make and save money, revolutionize your work, going away from 9 to 5 and working for yourself, revolutionize how you use resources and what you give back. Maybe you start to eat differently, eat maybe more vegetarian food or more natural, healthy food. There may be revolution in terms of your sexuality, because Taurus is a very sensual sign that's good at indulging and enjoying. So Uranus can also encourage you to open yourself up to new possibilities in love and sex and relationships. Even changing your home, right? And changing what you see comfort for yourself. There are 2 periods between November 7th and February 3rd. Uranus is retrograde. It's moving from 2959 Taurus to 2727 Taurus. And so you'll feel this the most if you have planets between 26 and 29 of the fixed signs. Those are Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. Pay special attention. And then after February 3rd and until April 25th, Uranus will be direct in Taurus. But it is really quite interesting that we are completing chapters started in May 2018. So take a look at 2018 and think of how has money, work, home, intimacy, food, your relationship with food, your relationship with nature, your relationship with sex, how has all of that changed? Did it change? Maybe you're the most stable person in the world and nothing has changed in your life. This is potentially the final 6 months. They will be all about integrating what you've learned over the course of the last 7 years, completing some chapters, releasing some attachments that do not serve you, shaking up what still needs to be shaken up, and embracing awakening. Really breaking free and freeing yourself in the Taurus sector of your chart. We're going to take a look at the 12 rising signs. If you're seeking more personal advice, book a reading on my website. You can also become a subscriber on my website to either get weekly updates with weekly and daily astrology, or get monthly horoscopes with me either in person or emailed to you. And on my website, you can pick up my planner, register for my course, and, do all the good things. So we're going to start with Aries. If you are in Aries rising, Uranus is returning into your second house of money and values. How has your life changed? How has your financial situation changed since 2018? Maybe you've undergone a lot of transformations. Maybe you've tried on a few hats and tried a few different jobs. Maybe you've experienced a sudden windfall of money or a sudden lack of money, right? There could have been a lot of shakeups that potentially meant to teach you to rely on yourself and to find a deeper inner source of contentment and stability and self-reliance, right? So Uranus here will be all about freeing yourself from a toxic work situation, from attachment to resources, and maybe attachment to people that are not good for you, maybe letting go of like negative patterns of thought as far as the second house has to do with self-worth and values, maybe embracing new ways of making money, right? With Uranus, it could be technology, internet, future, astrology, anything like that. Looking for freedom in self-expression, right? For freedom in terms of how you make money and how you present yourself. And so committing to things that allow that freedom, or releasing things that are stifling and making you unhappy. If you're seeking more advice, if you want a deeper analysis of this and how it affects your chart, book a reading and register for my predictive astrology course. Begins in March 2026. If you are a Taurus rising, how have you changed since 2018? So Uranus has been in your first house of health, body, style, image, identity since 2018. Are you the same person? Have you maybe changed? Did your body change, right? Maybe you had a couple of kids and your body looks different. Maybe you've gotten some tattoos. Maybe you've completely reinvented your style. Maybe you changed what you do for a living, right? Maybe you went from being a stay-at-home mom to being a businesswoman, or vice versa. So Uranus here will offer final opportunities to shake off the cobwebs and release the things you're feeling attached to, things that you're defining yourself as that do not serve you. There may be some final opportunities for like physical changes in your body, like you suddenly start exercising and you commit to some kind of intense routine and you reinvent yourself. There's also going to be opportunities to speak up and to present yourself in a different light that may surprise other people, to kind of own who you are and who you've become. And so I feel like it's very much like awakening to what Uranus and Taurus has wanted you to do. Maybe you're showing up in the world as a teacher, a guide, a healer, a Uranian awakening person for other people. Do share how this resonates. It kind of, it's worth keeping in mind that between November 7th and February 3rd, Uranus is retrograde. So at first it will be a little bit more covert and hidden. And then after February 3rd, you're likely to see the outward manifestation. So book a reading on my website if you're seeking more. Join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March, and highly recommend my exalted moon candle for you guys. If you are a Gemini rising, Uranus is returning to your 12th house. So it first went in your 12th house in 2018. Shaking up your mental health sector, encouraging you to let go of self-defeating tendencies, highlighting your blind spots, shining light on everything you normally would choose not to look at. It could have brought stresses into your life and situations outside of your control that have tested your patience and, again, revealed something about yourself. So this final 6 months period could be about finally setting free those self-defeating tendencies. Do you worry too much about what people think of you? Do you dwell in the negative too much? Do you tend to eat or drink too many sugary drinks, right? Like, what is it? Uranus in Taurus can very much encourage you to release, to break away, right? It's very much the words connected with Uranus are breakdowns and breakthroughs. So there may be some final breakdowns that you still need to experience, that you need to go through to realize what you are releasing. But there can also be breakthroughs. So instead of breaking down, look for a way to break through. It could be a good period, especially while Uranus is retrograde between November 7th and February 3rd, to slow down, to meditate, to withdraw as much as you can, to journal, to lean into astrology or spirituality for help. If you ever do, you can book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, or register for my predictive astrology course. And then when Uranus goes direct later between February 3rd and April 25th, this could be the time when all of those lessons of the past 7.5 years begin to solidify and integrate, and maybe you realize that your love for astrology is worthy of you becoming an astrologer, right? And thus begins the next 7 years of Uranus in your first house. But it's all about decluttering, right? Decluttering your mental attic so that you can emerge a fresh, beautiful butterfly. But do share, how has the last 7 years changed you, and what kind of patterns did you release? And again, visit my website to book a reading, join my course, or check out all of my offerings. If you are a Cancer rising, Uranus is returning to your 11th house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams for the final 6 months. It first went into your 7th house in 2018. How have your friendships changed? How did your role in the world change? Maybe you've gone from being friends with your high school, being friends with your high school classmates to breaking away from like old friendships and moving to a big city and making brand new friendships with people in bike gangs or something. There could have been a lot of shakeups in your friendships, maybe even some sudden arrivals and sudden disappearance of people. And so this is the final opportunity to redefine who is in your corner, who is a true ally and who is not. And there may be opportunities to shake away from old connections and people who do not support you, who do not offer you things you want. If you've been asking continuously and giving them a lot of signs and trying to be patient, this final return of Uranus into Taurus could be like, okay, I've had enough. This is a toxic relationship. It's not worth my time. Changes in terms of new people coming into your life, maybe more unconventional, quirky bike gang members. I don't know. And also 11th house has to do with your role in the world, right? The large groups, the volunteering organizations, the altruistic pursuits. So Uranus here can also either introduce you to a new cause that you feel passionate about, or maybe encourage you to commit to a cause that you already know that you care about. So sort of future projects, dreams can all accelerate, and new allies may be coming into your life. If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website, register for my predictive astrology course that begins in March, and pick up this lovely exalted moon candle for more stability and manifestation in your life. If you are a Leo rising, Uranus is returning to Taurus, completing chapters started in 2018 in your sector of career, status, and reputation. How has your professional life changed since 2018? Maybe you've tried on a bunch of hats and tried a couple of different jobs, right? Maybe you've experimented with going into business, becoming self-employed. Maybe you've been, working with technology and thinking of starting some kind of unorthodox career. So Uranus is here for the last 6 months, right? And it will very much encourage you to break away from anything that is restricting you. So if a job feels stifling, if it's not supportive of your freedom and your self-expression, it might be time to break away from that job. It might be the time you're letting that go. And of course, embracing new paths, choosing new exciting directions, putting yourself out there, right? And showing up in a whole other way. Please share, how has your professional life changed since 2018? Do you feel like, yeah, I'm ready for a new change? Have you already had a ton of change and you just want things to be stable? I'd be curious to know. If you're seeking personal advice, book a reading on my website and register for my predictive astrology course. I also highly recommend this exalted moon candle because it falls in your 10th house of career and it can help create stability and abundance there. If you are a Virgo rising, Uranus is making its final return to your 9th house of education, travel, writing, publishing, legal matters, faith, and belief systems. It first went in here in 2018. How has this sector changed for you? Maybe you've started studying and you're finally getting ready to graduate. Maybe you've started traveling and now you're deciding to live abroad based on the country that you enjoyed visiting. Maybe you're starting to live outside of a bus right now and just traveling nonstop. Maybe you're transitioning from being a student into a teacher. Maybe you've been on a spiritual quest of some sort, studying yoga, Buddhism, going places, and you're finally feeling ready to integrate all of those lessons and to awaken. Uranus will bring breakthroughs in your faith and your beliefs in your role in the world that involve education, travel, even being a lawyer, being a guide to other people, being a teacher, or like even a therapist of some sort, right? Because as a therapist, you guide people. and ninth house is connected to gurus. But it can also bring breakdowns of the old belief system. It can bring breakdowns of, you believe that someone is an authority figure, that someone is a worthy character that you admire, then suddenly you realize that this person is flawed and they're just a human being. And so maybe there is some kind of adjustment about to happen in terms of your beliefs and in terms of your idols. If you're seeking more, if you're willing and interested to study more, join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026. And on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, you can also book a personal reading for a face-to-face, one-on-one consultation. And I highly recommend my Exalted Moon candle. It trines your Virgo ascendant, and it can help create stability, abundance, and help with manifestation. If you are the lovely Libra rising, Uranus is returning to your 8th house of debts, loans, taxes, shared finances, and partners' money. So it first went in here in 2018. And I know quite a few Libra risings who have gone through loss and through financial shifts and through inheriting money, maybe even changes in relationships in terms of how much you share, how much you trust other people. So Uranus comes here for the final 6 months. And if you remember, if you've reflected on the last 7 years since 2018 and you have good examples, please share of how Uranus affected this dark house of sharing and death and transformations for you. But here it's all about, Uranus is illuminating in nature, and it is really good at helping us realize what is worth committing to. So with Uranus in the 8th, there may be new projects, new partnerships, new ways of relating that are more intimate and deep and authentically, truthfully yours that you're getting involved in, right? Like starting a business partnership, getting married, starting a joint bank account, starting some kind of investment that you are really interested in, like figuring out a new way of making money through working with other people, right? Even like managing other people's finances or using astrology to predict financial trends or anything like that. It could just be like, how can you use the energy of other people and how can you beneficially work with other people and even like financial institutions, right? And then the other one will be liberation and break down of something that doesn't serve you. So liberating yourself from, honestly, it could be anything from like a really mean accountant that you've stuck around with because you felt like your parents went to them and you have to go to them, but really every time you see them, they leave you anxious and frustrated. So anything from like liberating yourself from an accountant, a debt, to something a lot like larger where you're stepping away from like maybe a pattern of fear, maybe the lack mentality, maybe the sense of like relationships need to be a certain way, maybe healing wounds that you've experienced, right? As a Libra rising, ever since Uranus went in my like 8th house in 2018, my dad passed away, my grandparents passed away. There's been like three members of my family, the closest members of my family passed away. So some healing might still be due for some of us Libra risings if we've lost loved ones in the last few years, and maybe there is a celebration and the light at the end of the tunnel that you come through, you come out of it and you celebrate how resilient and strong you are and how much you've learned, right? And how you've only become better. I know, I see you. I see that you're only getting better, my lovely Libra rising. If you're seeking more, if you want to use the knowledge of the stars to predict your future, join my predictive astrology course, level 2, forecasting with transits. It begins in March 2026. All of that is on my website. You can also book a reading on there. Highly recommend my Exalted Moon or Moon in Cancer candle for emotional stability and balance. If you are a Scorpio rising, Uranus is returning to Taurus, to your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, contracts, and agreements. It first went in here in 2018. How have your relationships changed? Uranus in the 7th brings shifts, right? If you're someone who until 2018 was only in long-lasting relationships, Uranus comes in and suddenly these long-lasting relationships no longer work for you anymore. You seek freedom, you seek excitement, you seek unique and different types of relationships. If you've always been scared of commitment and maybe dated around, Uranus in the last 7 years could have offered you a chance to commit and get married and have a kid or something, right? So there could have been a lot of important shifts, and these next 6 months will be the final awakening opportunities in this regard. And so Uranus can bring someone new into your life. Maybe they're unorthodox, maybe they're different from who you would normally go for. And it can encourage you to revolutionize how you do dating and relationships. Or it will encourage you to break away from something that is outdated, from some fears, from some self-limiting beliefs, and, you know, maybe a tendency to be controlling in a relationship. Uranus will be all for freedom and independence and innovation. Some of you maybe will end up in an open relationship if that is what your heart desires. Uranus can very much crack open the things that are very traditional and encourage unique and unconventional. I'd love to hear how much Uranus has changed your love life in the last 7 years, if you are a Scorpio rising. And if you're looking for more advice, book a reading on my website, register for my predictive astrology course, and pick up my super stabilizing exalted moon candle. It's really good for women, for fertility, for getting along with women, as well as manifestation, rituals, and abundance. Creating. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Uranus is returning to Taurus, your sixth house of work, health, and service for the final 6 months. How has this part of your life changed since 2018 when Uranus first entered your sixth house? There could have been professional transformations, changes to health, changes to your diet, exercise routines, maybe disruptions in your work life and a sense of like needing to have more freedom, more independence to do your own thing, right? So Uranus will come here for the last 6 months and it will offer these final opportunities to awaken. It may give you a chance to disengage from something toxic, a toxic boss, a toxic professional situation with a colleague, even a toxic habit when it comes to your diet and things like that. And then it will encourage new beginnings here as well. Maybe opportunity to do work that is remote, to do, you know, something like unorthodox, maybe become a healer of some sorts as well. And think of like, are you putting your energy to best use? Is there something that you can do with your time and the resources you have at hand in like a more constructive way? Like, is there something you can do to make your life better and to serve other people and to create change with your gifts, right? Because as a Sagittarius rising, you are very philosophical, very spiritual, very interested in having a mission, making the world a better place. So I feel like with Uranus coming back to your sixth house, it's like start with these small adjustments to your everyday life and then look for ways to make a bigger change in the long run. Do share how this resonates. If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026. If you are Capricorn rising, Uranus is returning to Taurus for the next 6 months, completing chapters started in 2018 in your sector of romance, pleasure, creativity, and children. So how has your life transformed in the last 7 years? Maybe you've been more open-minded in terms of dating. Maybe you've been experimenting with open relationships or dating multiple people at the same time, some kind of, you know, just maybe you've been experimenting sexually. Maybe you've been also trying to get pregnant. Maybe you've become pregnant, right? Maybe you've been exploring different creative ideas, different projects involving writing, dance, music, art, meshing it all together. So Uranus comes here for the final 6 months, offering you a chance to integrate everything you've learned, right? asking you to break away from anything that is still rigid and stuck, and anything that's slowing you down in terms of sex and love and creativity and parenthood, right? There might also be a sense that you're very traditional or very attached to doing things the way they've always been done. And suddenly Uranus returns here and you're like, what if I try it this way? Who said I'm not allowed to do it like that? So breaking away from anything that is restrictive. And then perhaps also breakthroughs in a creative life, breakthroughs in terms of parenthood. If you've been trying to get pregnant traditionally and it's not working out, maybe you try IVF, maybe you try adopting. Fulfillment and stability can be found in unique places with Uranus in the 5th house. And discovering new passions, discovering astrology, creativity, hiking. 5th house is deeply, deeply personal, but Uranus can help you see what is that personal happiness. What does it look like for you? And it can also encourage you to care less about what people think. And if your personal happiness involves learning astrology, join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026 to learn to forecast your future. And you can also book a reading. All of that is on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are an Aquarius rising, Uranus is entering Taurus for the final 6 months, completing chapters in your home, family, living situation, real estate sector. And take a look back at 2018, because that is when Uranus first entered your 4th house. So maybe Uranus inspired shifts in your family dynamics. Maybe it encouraged you to move a bunch of times. Maybe it revealed issues with family members and inspired honest conversations and honest communication. Maybe it broke open the secrets of your house and things that your family didn't tell you. Maybe you've discovered some shocking information. Please share. It helps other people with your rising sign, and it helps me also to know what's happening for you guys. But Uranus here, it's the final 6 months, so it's going to be about integrating. It's going to be about making finishing touches and committing or breaking away. So if we're talking about breaking away, this could be about letting go of outdated patterns of relating with your family, of outdated patterns of thinking about family in general, right? Taurus tends to be very set in its ways. I mean, Uranus will be like, try things differently, right? Maybe your home is probably your oyster. Your home is your happy place. But then Uranus comes here and it's like, oh, but now there is an issue with the plumbing, or now there is something else. And it's like making you examine your environment and then examine your inner environment and try to bring the two in coherence together. So there may be some opportunities to break away from old patterns and also break away from outdated living situations. Like if you've been so attached to your hometown and the opportunity comes in a different town, maybe it's time to take it. Maybe it's time to travel and go live somewhere else and create a nest for yourself somewhere else. So breaking away from the old, committing to something new is quite possible here. Transformations within the family, opportunities to release, transform, change your home and your living situation are all likely here. Please share how this resonates. Look back at 2018 and until now and share how your life has changed. And if you're seeking more advice, book a reading on my website, register for my predictive astrology course. It begins in March. And highly recommend my Exalted Moon candle. It falls in your 4th house and it has a very stabilizing, abundance creating and good for manifestation energy. So it can improve your home, family, and living situation dynamics. Last but not least, my beautiful Pisces risings. Uranus is coming back to your 3rd house of communication, mind, speech, everyday life, skills, hobbies, interests. And it's going to complete chapters started in 2018. So reflect back 7 years since 2018. How has your life changed? How has your everyday life changed, right? 3rd house is how you spend your day, the thoughts you think, the people you see. Chances are it's pretty drastically different, right? Maybe you lived somewhere else and you moved to a new place. Maybe you used to drive every day and now you take a train or you walk. There is a lot of shifts that could have happened in your everyday life, and Uranus will encourage sort of some finishing adjustments that are meant to illuminate your mind, that are meant to create more freedom, that are meant to encourage you to connect and to commit to your true self, right? So there may be some outdated patterns of thought that you still need to release. They may be self-limiting, they may be self-critical, they may be connected to how you do work and how you relate with other people. So breaking away from unhealthy mental patterns and communication patterns as well. Transforming your everyday life, right, to have more freedom. So maybe it's working from home, maybe it's becoming self-employed, maybe it's taking your love for tarot and learning tarot and becoming a tarot reader, or taking your love for astrology and joining Anastasia's course to predict that begins in March 2026. So there are a lot of possibilities of what this could be, but ultimately Uranus always is about breakdown or breakthrough. And so breakdown of unhealthy patterns of thoughts, even relationships, like if you have a sibling or a friend where things have been like brewing under the surface and you've been feeling irritated, but you don't bring it up because it's more important to have peace. And suddenly Uranus comes back and you're like, okay, I've had enough. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say it. And then through saying it, your relationship evolves and becomes more authentic, more truthful. And then if we're talking about breakthroughs, there may be breakthroughs in therapy, in terms of what you want to do, in terms of ideas that you want to write about, even breakthroughs in terms of your relationships with your immediate environment and your siblings. So deep truth speaking is a theme, I think, for you Pisces risings. For more, visit my website to book a personal reading, register for my predictive astrology course, and check out any and all of my lovely candles and creations, such as planner. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me with likes, comments. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope you stick around. And if you've been here a while and you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate that if you do. If you have any ideas for the videos and things you'd like me to talk about, also let me know, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.